Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Going Dark podcast. This is episode 16, and we have a very special guest, Chop. Go ahead and do the
Yes,
introduction.
sir. This is our a longtime friend, a legend in the zombies community. A lot of you guys know him, the MrDalekJD. How you doing, John?
I am doing good. Very excited to be on this podcast. Big fan of the podcast, I can't lie. So when I
Oh,
got
thank
asked
you,
to
man.
be on it, I'm like, hell yeah.
I love
Very
that. I love
excited.
that.
I
No,
love
we're
that
very
too.
excited to have you on too. Highly requested guest, an absolute honor to have you here, and I'm sure all the viewers at home will be stoked to see you on. And we have a lot to discuss today, I'm sure. So listen, guys, we're back. I know we've taken a little bit of a break, but we did our first live show, and then we were working on lining up some really cool guests, and we're very happy to have John as our first one to come back. So yeah, we've got a lot to discuss today. And I think we'll start with talking about one thing I want to ask you real quick, John, just out of my own curiosity.
Sure.
I know Modern Warfare 3 got a big update with zombies. Well, a big update, but the yeah, big update. The unstable rifts. I'm not gonna lie, I've kept up with most of what zombies has done this year. That is
Sure.
the one thing I've just been so like Elden Ring pilled. I've not even played the unstable rifts at all. Can you like
Wow.
walk me through that a little bit and is it worth it like at all?
Is it worth it? Probably not. Um, it's a decent update, but it's an update where you play it once and that's literally it. You've
Mhm.
experienced the entire thing. And I think so the idea of it is it's basically like their answer of like round based, but it's not round based. It's like 5 waves that you got to survive, but it's not even a certain amount of zombies that you got to kill before you get to the next one. It's time based where you go in. It's a little bit like director's cut from Infinite Warfare. Anyone watching understands what that is. You spawn in with all perks, which is pretty cool for like a Black Ops game. We've never really seen that before, so that's cool. It pack a punches all your weapons, upgrades the rarities, and it throws you into a 45-minute session in like the smallest play space we've seen yet. It's just one part of a previous Dark Ether Rift from season 1, but they've just
Nice.
closed it off and like you can't leave it basically.
Is it
Uh,
is it like the church area out of curiosity? Like where the
n-
no?
no, so like if you remember season 1's Rift, there's like one of the objectives you got to survive for like 2 minutes
Mhm.
in like a very small room.
Sure.
Literally right outside of that is the play space.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. I
Yeah.
got you.
So it's 45 minutes. There's 5 waves, but after 5 minutes, it spawns like a boss. You take down the boss, you've successfully done that first wave. And then it's like you got 20 seconds to prepare for the next one. And it just sort of throws every boss that they've had in the game at you. We're
Uh-huh.
not talking like Red Worm, we're talking just like the Stormcaller,
Mangler,
Mangler with more
yeah,
health and other stuff like that.
sure.
Um, and it honestly takes like 30 minutes to complete, maybe 35 minutes. And when you complete it, you unlock a arguably very cool camo.
Okay.
A camo which I think like Warzone and multiplayer players really wanted, so they went
Yeah.
and done it, which I think that's cool. Incentivizes like all types of players to do that activity, but once you've done it, literally no point ever doing it again. And the worst part is that to unlock it, you have to do an activity on the map. But whoever does the third part of that activity, the rift spawns for all players, and it's a race to get to it. And if you don't get there first, someone else gets the rift, and they basically did no work. You did all the work to unlock it,
And then they
but
just take it from you kind of
they
thing?
just take it. Yeah,
Whoa.
and then you have to do it all over again. And then
Man, that's kinda
if someone takes it again, that's it. The whole game's cooked. Like you got to go to another game. And I think that design on paper it sounds cool, but it's just it's not cool. Like Treyarch,
It
that's not
I
cool. Don't do it
I think
again.
a lot of the MWZ, like, Easter egg stuff has been a little frustrating because many of the mechanics require the cooperation and or non-cooperation of other people in your game, which
Mm,
is, because Easter eggs have always been controllable in some real sense. Like, as far as, like, if I interact with this, it will reliably be here, I can do this, you have more agency over it. A lot of, like, MW3 stuff is like, well, if the randoms don't take it first, I can do this thing, or
yeah.
if they happen to then I have to exfil and restart another game, and it's just like I think kind of again, it sounds cool on paper, but removing that level of control from the player, especially in a PvE mode like zombies, is I think that's one of the inherent weaknesses of the of this mode of, you know, MWZ, the extraction type thing. So that's interesting. I may jump on to check out Unstable Rifts one time, but you know, it's from what you're saying, it's no replacement for round-based maps, and
No.
certainly not a replacement for proper round-based zombies, which we will be getting later this year.
Thank God.
I actually saw that camo. Charlie Intel tweeted it, and a lot of the Warzone and multiplayer guys have it now. So I think we may have gotten a lot of those type of players on zombies from just this camo. I mean, the camo looks unbelievable.
Yeah, the camo is like, honestly, it's a top 5 camo.
It tempted me to play zombies for once on the new one.
What I need to look at what this looks like.
Yeah, it's sweet. It's
I'm
like
curious.
it's almost like lightning, I guess I would say, like a lightning.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it looks a bit like something out of Vanguard Zombies in terms of
man,
like it being
wow,
like
yeah.
red dark ether, but like it's
very
sweet.
clean, but yeah, it does look very Vanguard.
Dude, all the Warzone people are rocking this skin. So you probably got a lot more people playing zombies in the last couple weeks because of this.
Yeah, they definitely jumped on, got the camo. That's the thing.
Didn't do the objectives at all. They're the ones that stole it from you.
Yeah, and then there's nothing left to do. Like they're not jumping back on zombies after that.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like if they had more things like that more often, I think it would definitely help the zombies ecosystem. And maybe that's something they can do in Black Ops 6. They could add maybe like a weekly challenge of some sort of unlock in game, so it incentivizes people to go back in and maybe play the game in a slightly different way as well, in order to get something cool out of it. You know?
Yeah. Chop, can I bring up something?
Yeah, please.
I got to be honest with you. I have been playing Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer the last couple weeks. I really feel like they have done a great job of adding these secondary modes that are extremely fun to play. I got back on for the 8-bit game mode and the get higher thing.
Yeah.
So I was wanting to know your guys' opinions on those modes, if you played them or not, but like, I don't know what it is. Those things are so fun to play. I don't know why. It kind of reminded me of Jetpack era, the 8-bit one. And then like the get higher, it had like that Black Ops 3. I can't remember the mode right now, but
it has that
obstacle
like
course.
Yeah.
CODware feel, basically.
Yeah, I just feel like they need all these CODs coming out now. Like MW3 has done the best job of supporting the game after the fact, I feel like.
Sure.
And all the content's been free except for bundles and crap like that, but you get what I'm saying.
I've not played the get higher mode. I've watched a lot of it. It looks very cool. I don't really know what the 8-bit mode is. Can you run me through that really quick?
It's the Minecraft guys. They look like Minecraft characters, and then like you get a kill and the guys' heads get bigger, and it's literally looks like a Minecraft map.
But is it the same, like, you know, like mechanically the same kind of game? Like,
No.
is it, you know,
No, it's
Oh,
like
no?
It's like zero gravity in a way.
Yep.
Like
Oh,
jetpacky
wow.
sort of, like you jump higher and things are a bit floatier. I think it's really cool. I like Sledgehammer games, sort of like, you know what? We're sort of gonna have a bit of fun with Call of Duty now. We're like near the end of the life cycle. Let's just have some fun, see what we can do to push Modern Warfare in a slightly different direction, but in a very fun one. And I think they should do more of it, honestly. Like the get higher. I like Chop. I've not played this version. I played the last one. I loved it. I don't know. I think it's because I just went on holiday. I've just come back, so not had a chance. But I've watched a lot of videos. Like, you know, there's a lot of like secrets in that as well.
Yeah.
I just think it's really cool. Like they need to do more stuff like that. I don't know if it's a case of like, yo, Sledgehammer, make that your third game mode. Like
Yes.
zombies and whatever. Now get higher your third mode.
I just
they should.
I just think that they're so well, number one, I interrupted you, but like I think that they've hinted so many times that, hey guys, we wanted to make AW2. Like there was the game mode during April Fool's Day, where if you played Warzone, you jumped around like 800 feet in the air, dove 3,000 feet over to the side. And then there's this Minecraft one where it's like AW without like the side thrust, I would almost say, maybe. So I just feel like they just keep going like, hey guys, I almost think this is no evidence behind this, but I almost feel like they're hinting like they did back in the day with AW. They added MP40 and M1 Garand, and then World War II comes out, and then like they kind of did it again. Didn't they do it again with another COD where they put guns in the game and it was like hinting at the next COD.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say they put like more modern weapons in Vanguard, which their
Yes.
next game would end
Just
up being
so
Modern Warfare
weird.
3.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that was coincidence or not, but that did happen.
I like
Um,
Sledgehammer, man. I'm really starting to become a fan of I just wish that they could get uncapped, get the shackles off, and just go. Like, make the
Yeah.
game you want to make.
mhm.
Yeah, give them like
agree.
3-4 years of development time, like
Oh.
what Treyarch have got with Black Ops 6. They
Mhm.
could make a really good COD. Like, I think,
Yeah.
give them enough time, they're gonna cook something really good.
Yeah.
And when you consider how little time they've had with MW3, they've actually smashed it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like, they've really done it. Like you said, like the live support is probably one of the best we've seen in recent years for a COD game. Like, Black Ops 6 has competition in terms of
Yeah.
like trying to keep up that level of just like unexpected content that works, you know?
Mhm. So I off that, I think we should talk about Black Ops 6, fellas.
Here
So,
we go.
I think we should talk about Black Ops 6. So let me tell y'all a little bit of a story for all the people at home. A viewer and a someone I know, let me give a big shout out to Skeptics. He actually tipped me off to this. He said, "Hey, I found this really weird thing. You should check it out." And he sent this to me, and I went on Amazon and looked for it myself. There's a Black Ops 6 book, and
Breaking news.
it's called Behind Enemy Lines: The Untold Story of the Most Ambitious Call of Duty Yet. This is very odd because I'm trying to figure out where this book came from and why, because it is either full of the most like rich information we have about the game so far, or it's complete nonsense. And what I mean by that is a lot of it seems right. It's talking a lot about how Treyarch and Raven, are cooperating to develop the game. It's had a long development cycle, blah, blah, blah. The Microsoft acquisition, it's covered a lot of stuff. That is correct. But also, we know a fair bit about the campaign right now. We know roughly the protagonist, some of the antagonists, and so on. Like Frank Woods is going to be in the game, Adler, obviously. But with that in mind, let me read you a little bit of what it says about the key characters in the campaign. This is where this book gets weird. So it says the protagonist is a seasoned CIA operative with a complex background. Throughout the game, players learn about their history, motivations, personal struggles. This character serves as the player's avatar, providing a personal connection to the story. All right, not too bad. Now, it says here are some of the other characters. Get ready for this. David Mason, a veteran CIA operative and mentor to the protagonist. David's character arc explores themes of loyalty, sacrifice, and the toll of a lifetime spent in covert operations. Huh?
So
David Mason is like 6 years old in this game. Or like David Mason wouldn't be an operative until like the future missions in Black Ops 2. This game takes place in the 90s, and it's saying that David Mason, like the son, is a grizzled veteran. I'm like, what?
6 years old.
Right,
This
right,
is
right.
either like the biggest spoiler for Black Ops 6's campaign that you'll ever see,
Yeah,
or it's just
or
absolute nonsense. Yeah.
right, right. And here's also a weird one: Lieutenant Sarah Connor. Are y'all just ripping Terminator?
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
what?
that. I thought I recognized that name.
Yeah, are y'all just ripping Terminator and no like shout out or anything? That's weird. Victor Reznov, a former Soviet operative with a mysterious past, his motivations and allegiances are unclear. Blah blah blah. And then General Hassan Al Mansur, which General Hassan was a villain in MW2.
Yeah, I was like, that name
Bro,
rings a bell.
Like
The
what?
heck? The
That's what I
crossovers are
mean.
crazy.
Yeah,
Treyarch could really cook him.
right.
I think this, like you said, I think this may sound like a ChatGPT book.
Do you think it is?
After that news that you just provided with us, that's my guess.
Yo,
Or
Sarah Connor's
you're playing
crazy.
dumb and you got a source from somebody and they sent it to you.
I don't know, man. It's mixed with like what seems like maybe reasonable information mixed with garbage. Now here we'll get into this, John, because this is what we want to hear about the zombies
Okay.
mode.
Okay.
I'll give you a brief introduction what it says about the zombies mode. it says, well, first of all, it talks about the early years of zombies. That's not particularly relevant to us, but it says new features and gameplay mechanics of Black Ops 6. Black Ops 6 continues this tradition of innovation, bringing new features and mechanics to the zombies mode that aim to enhance both the gameplay experience and the narrative depth. What does that mean? That's
Yeah,
just a bunch
how's
of words that don't really say anything.
yeah.
Expanded open world elements.
Oh,
The addition of open world components to Black Ops 6 Zombies mode is one of the game's most important new additions. Players will now have access to a broader, connected world with multiple regions to explore. In contrast to the conventional constrained maps, with this modification, players can now play with greater strategy because their journey will determine which paths they take, where they can find hidden regions and what kinds of challenges they will face. The open world layout promotes replayability and exploration because several iterations can yield fresh insights and encounters. Don't we explicitly have round-based maps coming this year with BO6?
yeah. All they've said is round based. Round based is back. They've not said round based is back, and so is Outbreak. They've specifically not said anything about open world. It's just round based.
It's so contradictory, you know? I'm
Yeah.
like, it's almost like the exact opposite of what we are getting. Now, here's also something weird. John, I know you will like this. It talks about the central narrative of the game.
Okay.
And it says set against the backdrop of the Gulf War. Sure, that's probably true. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mention the Dark Ether at all, which is odd given that, you know, the Dark Ether, Samantha Maxis is very central now to the game's plot. But here's something funny. It talks about the characters of the game. And, you know, we know who our actual crew is now, right? We have Weaver, Dr.
Gray.
Gray, Sergeant, what's his name?
Carver.
Carver, and then Maya, like the new girl. Here's what the book says the new characters are. Major Alex Harper. Does that name ring a bell?
Isn't that a character from Black Ops 2 campaign?
Alex
Harper.
Harper, I think is.
Harper, yeah.
Harper,
It's
but
the
I
guy
don't
who,
think
the Walking Dead actor, right? He does the
yeah,
voice.
Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was his name Alex?
I don't think his name's Alex. It's Harper.
Okay.
But yeah,
let me look.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, go look this up. It says Alex Harper
Mike.
is a seasoned
Mike.
CIA
Mike Harper.
Mike.
Yeah.
Seasoned CIA operative and leader of Task Force Z. That first of all, that sounds kind of dumb. Second, that's not Requiem.
Yeah. And it also
Harper's
sounds very Modern Warfare.
Very Modern Warfare. Harper's determined to uncover the truth behind the outbreak. Our next character, Dr. Elena Ramirez, a brilliant scientist specializing in viral pathogens. Ramirez provides crucial insight into the nature of the zombie virus.
Jesus.
Okay. And then we have Sergeant Malik Hassan. Yet again, another Hassan. A former Iraqi soldier with personal ties to the conflict. Hassan adds a unique perspective to the team. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds AI generated.
Finally,
it's gotta be.
It's gotta be. Then finally, we have Agent Sofia Ivanov, a Russian defector and expert in psychological warfare. Ivanov's motives are shrouded in mystery. Like, and then it talks about expanding the mythology, but it doesn't talk about anything. It doesn't actually say anything. It just says, yeah, it expands the mythology pretty much. And then, but here's the last thing I'll say about zombies. We'll move on. The last thing I will say is, it says to promote team synergy, Black Ops 6 Zombies introduces class-based roles with unique abilities and equipment. Players can choose from classes such as Medic, specializing in healing and reviving teammates, Assault, focusing on damage dealing, Engineer, and Scout. These sound just like Extinction like classes.
That's
Yeah.
like
Down to
COD
a
2.
T.
That's like COD 2.
Yeah, in a way, which is very odd. It says that there is also a heavy aspect of resource management, and there are like specific revive zones that players need to be dragged to. Like,
Yo.
yeah,
If that was ever a thing, oh my god. Imagine
Right.
you have to watch your teammate die and bleed out, and you have to pick up their body and carry them across a zombies map and then drop them in a zone to then revive them.
yeah,
There's no way.
there's no
but,
way.
But there's something else, Chop, right? So when you started talking about the book, I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
let me see if it's on Amazon UK. Turns out there's a second Black Ops 6 book
Wait,
that was
what?
published. that was published 12 days after the one you're talking about. So now you got to buy another book
Oh my God. Wait,
for the
what?
next podcast. It's called COD Black Ops 6 Omni Movement Gameplay Dynamics Feature. It's a whole book about Omni Movement. That's how big
Oh,
Omni
I see
Movement
it. I
is.
see it. I see it.
Yeah.
That's so odd because also in this book, the thing I didn't read anything multiplayer, but the thing I felt really weird about the MP was it does not mention Omni movement at all. So
Wow.
this feels like a I see it Omni movement gameplay. That's so
The
weird.
black cover with the red lettering.
It looks
Yeah.
terrible. And this is by Robert C. Heiser.
Robert C.
Look-
Heiser.
I'm looking. He's also published a book, House of the Dragon Season 2 movie review. The battle for power continues in Westeros. He's written a review for a movie, a House of Dragon Season 2 movie. But
Oh,
it's not
wow.
even finished airing. And he's released this when that first episode came out. So apparently he's seen the whole season already and has written
So what do we think is going on with this?
it's
What do we-
very confusing. I'm
Is-
trying to understand the motives behind why you'd write a fake book.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Chopper? Do you think we got something getting plugged and play here, and we've discovered it? We've
I
hit
don't
the
know,
holy
man.
grail.
I personally don't think so. But the weird part is like it does have what seems like a lot of good insight into like the development of the game, and it gives like a lot of context about like how long the development process has been, what studios are involved. It's fairly accurate as far as like talking about the Microsoft acquisition, even like the ARGs and stuff they've done. But again, but it's stuff like with the multiplayer and specifics of zombies that are just like astronomically wrong. And I'm like, did they take a little bit of information that was correct and say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a book about Black Ops 6, and it just spat out maybe 20% truth with a bunch of nonsense? Like, I don't know. Is that the motive? And I don't know. Was this person just trying to make a quick buck off people who want to know about Black Ops 6? I'm so interested in where this came from and why there's a second book.
I really want to get to the bottom of this. Just because I'm curious now. Like, is it going to be more books? Like,
right.
He's starting a series.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Have you got to buy like a whole anthology of Black Ops 6 books before the game's even out?
It's so unbelievably wrong. Like in the multiplayer section, it says that seasonal levels return, which we all know that's not true. The multiplayer is literally like founded on the fact that the classic prestige system is back. Like,
Yes.
I don't know, man. And it's full of so much misinformation. I'm not sure what to make of it, but it's very, very interesting.
That is, I don't know why people would do that, to be honest with you. But hey, listen, they got a sale out of you, so it might have worked.
They got a sale out of me, and you know what? Damn it, that's true. But I mean, I think if people buy this book unironically, they're gonna get a very warped perception of what the game is actually doing, because it's just simply like false. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this on my shelf, and it'll be interesting to come back to this book once we have the game, like once the full release has come out and we can get our hands on it ourselves. I'm sure we'll have a lot more insight, in about a year's time, and we can really pick this book apart and figure out where it came from. I feel like it will probably be pulled from Amazon stores pretty quickly. Like, I think it's just gonna disappear one day.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I got it while I did, because now I have a physical copy that will be here forever.
Get it signed by the devs when you go.
Man, I really should.
You
That would be so funny. I'm going to. That would be so funny.
So like, hey, this book, how much of this is accurate? Also, can you sign it, please?
Yeah, that'd be so funny. But yeah, I wanted to share that with y'all because I've been going down this rabbit hole the past like week trying to figure out what's going on with this.
I've been scrolling Charlie Intel a little bit while we've been talking. There's actually a good bit of information I don't think we've covered since. I mean, our last podcast was like two and a half weeks ago. So I mean, we could go over some. I would like to know, John, do you do a lot of Warzone? I should probably know the answer to that, but are you more like fully zombies?
I'm 95% zombies, but if something's happening in Warzone, like an event or like an Easter egg, I'll definitely dive in and like cover it. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I don't really play a lot of Warzone. I kind of wish I played a bit more because I would like to get better at it. I'm not very good.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
kind of like he kind of like me. If there's zombie type activities going on in
yeah.
Warzone, I'll jump on.
Yeah.
I just honestly, I wanted to get your opinion because it pretty much feels like it's confirmed that Verdansk, I mean, Charlie Intel tweeted, everybody tweeted, Inside Gaming, like Verdansk is coming back. We didn't talk about this because it was June 28th that this tweet went out. Do you think that is a good idea, or do you think it's kind of like it's not going to hit the same, boys? You know, like I see a lot of mixed opinions on it, but I feel like Rebirth's kind of hitting for the Warzone people. So let me give you a quick brief rundown. I was heavy Warzone, 20, 21, 22. Once Warzone 2 comes out, I mean, listen, man, I had a crisis. I had I'm soul searching. I'm going, where the heck do I go? And so that's kind of what made me go back to like the classic and kind of do what I'm doing now, but or all around Call of Duty. But I don't know with Verdansk. I just like to cover this because I feel like it's such a big map. Even if you didn't play Warzone, or even if you did play a little bit beginning, like this map. And I'm like, man, I wonder if people actually are gonna enjoy this. I mean, because it'll be like Black Ops 6 mechanics. I don't know. It's just a lot of factors in my head. I'm like, okay, it's actually set for fall 20. Or never mind. Hold on. Set to early 2025 now. Not with Black Ops 6, but it'll be that movement.
It'll be that game.
That gameplay. So yeah, like what do you guys think? Do you think that this is just like, it literally says they did it, they realized they wanted to do it after Fortnite's OG success, and I'm like,
I think it's, I'll just start with this. I don't really have a dog in the fight. Like I don't really, I don't know. My entire ship doesn't rise or fall with Warzone, so I don't really have a hard opinion either way. But I will say this, like, you know, Fortnite, and I'm not sure exactly why this happened, but Fortnite's like re-release of the original map was wildly successful. And recently, this is something that I actually participated in and played. Like PUBG brought its original map back. Very recently.
Oh, that's
like
hype.
It was hype. It was very exciting. I'm like, you know what? This is great, man. Like, this is going to be awesome. It was the biggest failure of an event I've ever seen.
No.
I don't know
Not
why
PUBG.
exactly, but yeah, man, it fumbled so hard. I think one of the issues was it was the old map, sure, but modern balance, also modern player base, which I think is
Yes.
important because like in early PUBG, just people simply weren't good at the game. Like bar none, people weren't nearly, like everyone is so good now at that game. And also it was like lobbies were like 50% bots. Like I actually played it a lot. I played quite a few games, and I would say like 90% of my matches were almost half bots. Despite the original map, you know, being in the game. Like they still couldn't fill lobbies.
That's sad.
It was bad, dude. Like they were really banking on this like being the thing, because I'm pretty sure like PUBG is going to be switching to like Unreal Engine 5 soon or something like that, and they're, you know, kind of overhauling the whole game. So this felt like one, you know, last hurrah with the old map where it all came from, and it should have been like this coming home experience to the player base, and it just wasn't. And they, you know, they even had like this giant marketing campaign behind it. They had like Shroud do like commercials for them. Dude, when the event started and like the old map was playable, Shroud wasn't even playing PUBG. He was playing like Warcraft or something. Like he wasn't even playing it on the day of the event, even though he was like the face of the commercials and everything.
I legit didn't even know this was happening.
Yeah, this is news to me, and I played
Exactly
the original PUBG. I like that original map.
Me too.
So
I love it.
would have been excited to go back and play it, but I didn't even know it was a thing.
It was there for 2 weeks and it was gone. And that was that. And it was like they didn't even crack like 1 million concurrent players again. They didn't even have that much of like a spike in average player base, and like it just failed. And I'm not really sure why. I'm not saying Verdansk is going to have the same fate, but you know, dissecting Fortnite apart from PUBG's approach, one of them worked when one of them really didn't. Even though on face value it was, oh, we're releasing the original map, that should just be enough. But it wasn't, and I haven't quite figured out exactly why. but that's just an anecdote I had.
Mhm.
So I'm not totally sure how this is going to go over. I do think the one thing that feels like it will be a constant is, yeah, the old map will be back, but people will be playing it as modern players, which is very different to probably how we played it when Verdansk came out.
A lot of bots back then.
Hmm.
Yeah, camping on rooftops with thermal snipers. Good times.
Well,
I
you
kind of
th-
shadow what Chop said. Like, it's interesting, like Fortnite bringing back that OG map, and like the success was just. I mean, they probably knew it would be really successful, but I don't think they understood it would be quite that successful. Then you look at what happened with PUBG. It's like Call of Duty. You've got Verdansk. I feel like it could go either way. I feel like for the short term, it's going to be incredible, but I think the problem is long term. Warzone's identity is like so confusing right now because it's like Warzone 2 changed so much, and what's frustrated me about Warzone this year, not the reason why I've not played it, but at its core, it's like trying to revert back to what it was in 2020, 2021 instead of pushing the boat out. But then you could also argue, well, what's wrong with it going back to that? We prefer it like that. People like it like that. But then at the same time, it's like, but we're now 4 years on, nearly
Mhm.
5 years. We want it to be different. We want it to evolve a little bit and be
Yep.
a slightly different game instead of just shifting every system back to how it was in 2020 and 2021. So it's like it's a really hard place for them to be in, where it's like they revert everything back to how it was. You know, we got Rebirth now, people are loving it. We go back to Verdansk, people loving it. But then, like long term, what happens then? Do we replace Verdansk? Do we get rid of it again, or do they keep it more long term? Like, what happens?
I, I totally agree with what you're going to say. I like this whole year, Modern Warfare 3 and Chop. I've said this probably 17,000 times on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. We literally the entire year has just been recovery of what MW2 and Warzone 2 did to this franchise, to the game, and I will just never let that is just I just can't stand that game so much. It gets me so frustrated talking about it. But like you
Yeah,
said,
you get very passionate about it.
oh,
I like to
dude,
see it because
I
I know
got
you feel some type of way about MW2,
listen.
and I in a lot of ways I agree with why you feel that way.
Yeah. But MW3, like it sucks because it's a good game. It's a good multiplayer. I saw Raidaway tweet this the other day. He's like, MW3's multiplayer is one of the best we've gotten in years. And no, I mean, of course, it's the top selling game and da da da. But like, it doesn't feel like people are playing it like that. Does that make sense? It's like, yeah, sure, they show
Yeah,
the
I get you.
stats, but it's like videos don't really perform that well like they used to with like other games, and like multiplayer is just not something that people are talking about as often. But it's a great multiplayer game. That's the weird thing about it. And then the same thing with Warzone, like we were just talking about. It's just complete revert. Everything is revert. Rebirth, bringing back Rebirth, bringing back Verdansk. And I think the point you made, Chop, is everybody was bots back in the day, man. There are so many sweats on Warzone. That's kind of why I shied away from playing it now, because to stream Warzone and talk to your chat at the same time, it's practically impossible unless you're doing these VPNs and two boxing and all this stuff to get gameplays. But then then it's like, what? I don't want to have to do all that. I just want to kind of casually play the game. And that's why I've even talked to you about it, Chop. I'm like, dude, Zombies kind of sounds like an interesting route, because it's like, man, you can kind of chill, talk to your community,
Yeah,
and then play the game. And it's like, sure, it's you can get sweaty with Zombies for sure, but
yeah.
a lot less
but that's
laid back and chill.
the thing with zombies is I've always felt this, and why I'm sure John feels the exact same way. I would assume zombies has always been a great spectator game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
it's been I think the zombies modes that have struggled, partly the reason for that is they haven't been as good spectator games. But like the peak game as far as like streaming goes, it was probably like Black Ops 3.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
that game is incredibly approachable from a viewer's perspective to watch. You can immediately know what round it is, what's going on, what they're doing, what the stakes are, like from the second you walk in. And there's a lot of ways you can go about that too. The point is, I do think Warzone is also a very good spectator game, but the cost of it is a little bit different. Whereas like I think the one of the things I really like about or did really enjoy about streaming zombies was I sort of control the pace, especially if you're playing a solo game or if you're doing around 100, you can kind of control the pace a little bit, do your own strategy. You can pause the game if you want to, interact with your chat, and I think that's what makes it this very community oriented game. Whereas Warzone is, but you don't have that level of agency and control to control the pace for your stream and stuff like that. So it makes content a little bit harder.
Yeah, John, what's your? Actually, I want to side note this because I don't know why I didn't ask you this right off the rip. What is your favorite Call of Duty and what's your least favorite Call of Duty?
Oh man, what a good question. I feel like as I get older, it keeps changing.
Yeah,
Because it's like I have such fond memories with very specific CODs like Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. And I like them for different reasons, and like some parts of those games are weaker than others, but it still makes them a really good game overall. If I had to say favorite, it's probably either Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3. Obviously Black Ops 3 for zombies.
yeah.
But even the multiplayer was really good.
It was so good.
Like I loved it. And like back in the day, I had like a smaller group of like UK YouTubers, and we made like videos doing like mini games and stuff.
Yeah.
Like King of the Hill, where there was like one of the maps where like the houses are upside down and there's
Infection.
one
Oh
that's-
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And we like had a King of the Hill game where someone was on the hill and we had like 4 others like exo jumping towards them. It was just who could stay on the hill and get the most kills, or like wall running on the one of the like first maps that was in the beta, and like you had to snipe them. It was just so much fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like Black Ops 2, the multiplayer, even League play, the thing that's so good about that, I don't know how they haven't managed to create a League play that matches Black Ops 2's League play. Like it was perfect. I never cared until Black Ops 2, and
Yeah.
I loved playing that. Zombies, I mean, it didn't have the greatest starts of Transit and Die Rise,
And
but
Die Rise.
yeah, but the maps following were absolute bangers. I think like, yeah, that's really tough.
Did you play ranked in BO3 or Reno,
No,
whatever
I
they
never-
called it?
No, I never touched it.
Dude, it was good. It was good. They had this system where you had like ban and protect.
Hmm.
So it was
Yes,
so
you're right. Yes, I have seen it. Yes,
it's
yeah.
like I don't understand why they don't bring that back. I think the biggest thing about competitive COD now is you see the same 2 guns every single game, same maps every single.
Yeah.
These are pros. Like adapt.
Every match looks the same. Like
Everything
you know,
looks the same. It's so
Yeah.
annoying. And then like you could, let's say there's a really good, dude with an M8 back in the day. Team comes up, bunch of nobodies, bans the M8. All of a sudden it's a good match because it's like, holy crap, they got to use the man of war. And so
Yeah.
I miss BO3. We've talked about this, Chop, too, how I agree with you. It kind of changes. And even like going back and playing Black Ops 1 campaign, dude, I hadn't played that in a while, and I'm like, holy crap,
It's timeless.
It's a
unbelievable.
banger. Yeah,
timeless.
so good.
BO1's probably in my top games too, because of the introduction of the maps that we still play today, and campaign, and zombies was so good for me. And okay, so sorry, tangent. Least favorite Call of Duty.
Least favorite, like I was thinking about it. It's like it's not a Call of Duty that I like hate, which is really interesting. But if I had to put like one that I dislike the most, it's probably between Infinite Warfare and World War II. But it's like, but even they aren't bad games. It's like,
Where does Vanguard fall in that?
oh shoot, I didn't.
And
even
where
think
does
about
Modern
Vanguard.
Warfare? Where's Modern Warfare 2 at?
Okay,
that should be
scratch
your answer right there. Like if you don't,
that. It's Vanguard. It's Vanguard. I forgot Vanguard exists. That's how
Yeah.
bad it is. Yeah. There's nothing redeeming about Vanguard. I'm so sorry, Sledgehammer, but it's like, yeah, the
I
zombies,
think,
we don't
like-
even go there. We just
I was
don't
wondering- I
even
was
go
wondering,
there.
like, that should be your answer, because if you don't even feel strongly enough to remember the game, that should be an indicator that it's your least favorite.
Yeah, it's
Um,
genuinely, I've just put it out my mouth. Didn't even remember it existed.
It's funny how you two have like the same one, and I think it's so 99% of your choice is because of how bad Zombies was. Because like Vanguard multiplayer was not awful. Like the ranked play was kind of fun.
No, sure.
Yeah, the
I agree.
multiplayer wasn't that bad. Like I remember like the first month or so, me and my friends, we were playing it every single day, and we were genuinely having a good time.
Yeah.
And I think some parts of the multiplayer again, near the end, Sledgehammer went a bit crazy. They started
Yeah.
adding some like very weird maps that were definitely not World War II themed, and advanced warfare weaponry like the laser gun. But
Yeah. It
yeah,
lost its identity along the way, but it I think mechanically it was a very solid multiplayer as well. But
Maybe
I think you and I, John, we weigh zombies very heavily on like the scale of it, and
oh
that
yeah,
takes it down a couple notches for us for sure.
yeah, and the campaign wasn't. It was okay,
I
but
hated it. I think
I
it's
was waiting for you to
second
say
worst next to
something.
MW3.
I
I
was
think
waiting
it's
for you to say something.
if Vanguard's here, MW3's like here.
yeah, the ending was like, it was like,
What
really?
happens? I don't have any memory of this
At the
campaign.
end, at like the whole campaign.
Yeah, just
The-
like
the-
what's
like,
the
the whole-
what's the premise
I'll
of
give
the
you a
campaign?
brief rundown. Like basically, it's like you're this kind of like ragtag group of a bunch of soldiers from like different nations. You know, you've got like a Russian, like you have all of the allies, and then you basically get captured by Germans, and you get captured by like some guy, and then 99% of the game are flashback missions to like kind of give an origin story of each character. And besides the flashback missions, the only plot is that you get put in prison. One of the guys, Wade Jackson, I think, the American soldier, puts
Yep.
like a bomb in the wall or something somehow. I don't know how. The thing blows up and then they escape. That's like the game. And then they get on a plane and
Interesting.
leave. But 90% of the game is flashbacks. And if you don't care about the
Interesting.
characters or, aren't concerned with that, then it just the worst part is the last like part of the game because they
Yeah,
go
yeah, I remember that.
they're flying away on the aircraft out of the German like facility or the prison or whatever, and they're talking about World War II as if it was like a fun adventure with their friends. They're like, you have to listen to the ending dialogue. It's
Okay.
so embarrassing. It's really bad. And they go like it's like a line out of like Halo Reach. They're like, tip of the spear, we are the vanguard or something like that.
Yeah, that's how
I
it's the
turned-
final.
I
It's
turned
the
my
final
game off,
line of
bro.
the game. Like, we
Yeah.
are the vanguard. Cuts to black, and then
Mhm.
credits roll, and it's like, ah. And then also the sort of like, they're like, we have to include that this is related to the zombie storyline. So we got like, oh, we've got all these projects here. And it's like there's Project Ether, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
god,
Come
really?
on.
Yeah, and it was like Project Nova as well. I'm like, no, why?
It was a
Why are
lot
you
of
doing
member
this?
berries at the end, and it was like really embarrassing. It's bad. I would say I don't. John, would you say the MW3 campaign is worse?
Ooh, I
It's
wouldn't
tough.
say it's worse, but it's definitely not better.
hmm
I mean, MW3 doesn't have a lot of redeeming qualities in this campaign anyway, but I would argue there's at least maybe one or two missions that I can actually remember, unlike Vanguard's,
Yeah.
where I can't remember anything beyond
Mhm.
the mission where you jump out of the plane and you're like parachuting at night, and then that final mission. Everything else about the game is completely forgettable.
It's a blur. I hear you.
Yeah.
I gotta ask another question, Chop. I feel like a terrible host here. We probably should, 40 minutes into the podcast, ask you what's your journey like. Give us a little bit of the first time making a YouTube video. When did you get into COD? When did you get into gaming? Listen, we're new to this. We're only 15 episodes in. We forgot to ask our guests what they actually got into. That's my bad. So yeah, hit me with like when did you start gaming first? Let's go back to the beginning. How about that?
Okay. When I start gaming, I think I was like 4 or 5. And it's a mix between, there was a neighbor that had like a spare PlayStation 1, and they had like, like back in the day when you used to go around a friend's house and they had like a big like folder of discs, just loads of games.
Yeah.
It just had like one of those, and they were like, here, have it. So that's when I played games like Spyro the Dragon.
Oh,
And I'm like, even to this day, I'm like, give me more Spyro, Activision. Like, what are you doing? And like Crash Bandicoot as well.
one of
and
my
then that
favorite
rolled in-
games ever, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. Again, we need more of those, Activision. Come on.
Yeah.
And then like Pokemon was the big craze at that point. I was like 5 or 6. So then a friend had a Game Boy Color, and we used to take it in turns playing like Pokemon games. Eventually got myself a Game Boy Advance. That led to like Pokemon or whatever. But my first like YouTube video and journey in was probably when I was like 12. So this is 2007. So I got internet at that point, and like I felt like I was late to the game because we didn't we weren't very wealthy. We didn't even have a computer until that point. So like
Yeah.
we got internet. The first thing I went on was YouTube, and I saw someone with a video of like a Pokemon game like doing some sort of action replay cheat. And I'm like, okay. So I start looking into that. And then I start finding channels that are uploading like Nintendo games, but like walkthroughs. And at that point, I was like a Nintendo Wii addict. Like I was a Nintendo fanboy. I never had a PS2. I never had an Xbox. And so watching people play games, I was like, that's really cool. I kind of want to do the same thing. And so I got the Dazzle capture card, you know, the classic. And I started recording like videos on like Super Mario Galaxy and Super Smash Brothers. And I was like religiously covering that game up until its release. Because back then, that was like one of the most hyped Nintendo releases in like the late 2000s. And I had a channel before the one that I'm on now, and I got that one to 1,000 subscribers. It took me about 2.5 years. But I
Does it
made
still exist?
It does, but
I'll get to that later. But
Yeah,
I just want to know
it
if it still exists.
yeah, it does, but it didn't for a long time. I got the channel suspended because I had a second channel that was uploading clips from The Dark Knight before it came out on DVD. I had a pirate copy, and I was like uploading clips, but it had the same email address associated to the YouTube channel.
Oh.
So that channel got suspended. It suspended my main one. So then I made MrDalekJD in like July 2009. And it was at that point where at school people started playing Call of Duty. I remember they got World at War and they played Nakta and Toten, and they were talking about it. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, yeah, we played the zombies mode. We camped like upstairs by the grenades and we got to like round 20. And I'm like, dude, this sounds so sick. What are you guys talking about? So got World at War. And then I got COD 4 after that. So I didn't get COD 4 during its like year. I got it the year after during World at War's year. And it was during that I started uploading a few videos. And then that's kind of when the COD cycle started, where we were all hooked, and, you know, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1. It was around then that, you know, multiplayer commentary started getting big. So delved into that a little bit. Then when Black Ops 1 came out, delved into the zombies, and it kind of from there started to take off. And then that's kind of where I knew my direction on where to take my Call of Duty content. And that is the story. Ever since then, everything's happened to where we are today. The rest is history. Yeah.
Is your first COD World at War on the Wii?
No, it was World at War on Xbox 360.
Okay. I know Ali
thank God.
A. I know Ali A. I think was World at War on Wii, and I was like, wait,
yeah, that's
do you have
rough,
the same
man.
story?
I would hate to have been playing that on the Wii, because that's rough.
It is
No
something.
zombies on that version.
Don't they have Black Ops 2 on the Wii?
Yeah, on the Wii U.
On the Wii U.
Yeah,
Oh,
Wii U.
Wow. I have a question, John. Do you like? I feel like this is with a lot of the, like, you know, older, like not saying older, but like people, zombie guys that have been around for a while. I feel like we all have, like, I don't know if this is true for you. Do you have like YouTube videos that you've made that are they're on the internet, but they're like what you do now? Like, basically, I used to make YouTube videos with my friends, like when I was really, really young, and the channel still exists. I've never like talked about it or anything, or like put it out there. But there are videos. Right, there are like pre-Chopper YouTube videos that, like, I made a long time ago. That are still around. Do you have like are there videos like that of, like, for you where you're on other YouTube videos with your friends that, like, aren't MrDalekJD?
Yeah, like I don't want to delve too into it, because like the podcast could literally be all about the backstory, because it's actually kind of wild. But
oh, really?
When I first started making videos, I didn't have the capture card. I was filming the screen with a phone. But a channel that I really loved at the time, you guys might have heard of it, but it's massive nowadays. Super Mario Logan.
Yeah.
So I came across his videos, and I was making videos where I was reviewing games with a Mario stuffed toy. And we became friends. Like we there's videos where we played like Super Smash Brothers together. We played Mario Kart together. Um,
Wow.
but why I bring this up is like he is now massive, and for some reason there are some channels that delve into like the history of big YouTubers, and they've realized I'm part of his origin story. Like I used to be friends with him and play with him, and I get messages now where I'm like, "Yo, that's so cool. You're friends with this guy," and I'm like, "Dude, you're talking about 17 years ago. I have
Yeah.
no idea what they're like." Who's this person? Who's that person? What was it like being friends with him at the time? Like, dude, I was a kid. I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
funny, man.
there's
I didn't know that
videos.
actually. Wow.
Yeah, there's videos like that. Most of them are private now on that channel. I
Mhm.
don't think there's any videos that are public on my original channel, but like, yeah, stuff pre-COD, like stuffed toys and Nintendo videos and like walkthroughs and other stuff like that. And
Mm.
also like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. I've done a lot of that as well. Some unboxings as well. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like
very
you even
crazy.
had like kind of a direction even on these really old videos. Like the stuff that like I used to make with my friends were just like, they were just videos of us like shooting each other with airsoft guns and stuff like that. Just like whatever.
I have a
yeah.
video of us playing Marco Polo on my channel, but it's private on my Tdawg
yeah?
channel. Yeah.
Oh wow, I love that.
Dang.
That's so funny. Yeah, I just had to ask because like I always wonder like how many ancient YouTube videos out there exist of like YouTubers that are like established now, but
Yeah.
people just have no clue about. Mine are still out there, but they're hidden in the archives. They're gone.
Yeah, like
Um,
the Mario Logan thing, that's one thing, but like there's other YouTubers that are massive now that again, if you look through like not a family tree, but like a YouTube tree, like I'm gonna be there at the start, and you would it's
dude,
just like
you're the part of
correlations
so many like
correlation you'd never ever think of. It's crazy.
I remember watching you play Diarize with like Wings of Redemption.
Oh my god, yeah. Like that was crazy. Like to think back in the day, I used to make a ton of videos with Vicstar123, who's
Wow.
like part of the one of the sidemen. Like we used to do a ton of like zombies challenges. It'd be like 2 box challenge, it'd be like wall guns only. And yeah, one time it was like he got me, he got Yoti, rest in peace, and then was like, we got a fourth, Wings of Redemption. And I'm like, wow, what is
What?
going on? It's crazy.
Oh my
I
god.
wish I realized at the time how like legendary
That
that game of zombies would be.
Yeah, it's still out there. I actually watched it recently. It's so funny.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
but
Oh
yeah,
no.
I think you are part of a lot of like YouTube family trees, and a lot of people may not know that about you, but it's an interesting fact.
For sure,
Um,
yeah. Even I don't really realize it or think about it.
mhm.
Chop, I got another question for you. I'm just gonna keep feeding you
Yeah.
questions because
Go for it.
I know you, Chop, have a good thought process around this, and I've asked you off the podcast about this stuff because I've been doing content for since 2020. I'm like the pandemic creator. Like I came from that side of things,
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
and you two have been around for a long time. So, Chop, you kind of just do it, and you don't really ask anybody. But have you ever considered like dropping COD and being like, you know what, screw it, this game sucks. Like you talked about Infinite Warfare, World War II. That's 2 terrible years in a row. Were you in that and you're like, holy crap, like, because I had that during Modern Warfare 2 of the past year. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I gotta go switch to Fortnite or something. Have you ever thought about that seriously, or you're just kind of like, because Chop he'll just throw a Battlefront video on his channel. You don't even give a crap. So I'm like, I respect that. But me,
Yeah, it
I was
seems
like,
like whatever
do I
Chop-
shift
but
or what?
yeah. It seems like whatever Chop does, it works. So it's just
Yeah,
like
he's got some
yeah.
sort of gift.
Yeah,
I don't know about
that's
that.
a great way
I
to
think I should be
be.
very lucky, but thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, like, yeah, there's been some really bad years of COD. And again, some of those years fell around the Fortnite era. So I think like every one of us in the like big zombies community like did not switch entirely to Fortnite, but we definitely had a little period of time where we were delving into Fortnite content. There was a period of time when Avengers like Infinity War and Endgame was like the thing in
Yeah.
like pop culture, and I like just as an experiment because I was like I'm really intrigued in trying to make my own video going over like Easter eggs that were hidden in the film and like other things like that, and it did really well, and it made me think, oh, what if I had like a channel that was delving into like Easter eggs in pop culture, TV,
Yeah.
movie, stuff
Yeah.
like that? But then I was like, in order for me to do that, I'd need to clone myself like 6 times to be able to watch every TV show and movie possible, or hire like a team to do that. And I was like, I just don't know if it's possible from starting from nothing to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So like there was a period of time where I did think about that, but like yeah, a
Short
lot of the time.
shorts can help with that. I feel like now, like with I have a little side Star Wars thing, and it was able to grow semi quick. But again, Chop and I have talked about sticky subs versus short subs a lot.
Yeah.
But like you said too, I mean, Star Wars right now, I've completely kind of stopped posting on it because, dude, the community. It's like I chose COD and Star Wars to create content on. What a great community I chose. You know,
Better be
I really
mentally resilient, brother.
really
Yeah.
really planned that one out well. So yeah, I agree with it. It's also, you know, with Marvel now, if you would have stuck with that, you would have probably been doing the same thing. Like, holy crap, what do I do? All these shows suck. It's just it's like an up and down thing, I feel like.
I think the thing for me, the thing that I've always approached it like is when we have bad years of COD, and then I have the thought of like, okay, I need to do something else. I think I used to approach it in a way where I would be like, okay, well, what has the most like view potential and like what would do well? But I think I was mistaken in taking that approach. I think what's worked for me, I would think, is that I, instead of approaching it from what I think is going to get views, I approach it where I want to make the best content on the thing that I'm genuinely really interested in right now. And I think that when people say like you need to be authentic on YouTube in order to get views, like your content needs to be genuine, I think that's what that means. Is like the thing that I'm genuinely like spending my time thinking about and invested in and passionate about, if I just make really good content around that thing, then it seems to do well. That's what I've been doing. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring recently, and all the content I want to make is Elden Ring. And you know, it's a pretty different game to Call of Duty, but weirdly enough, it seems to be working at the moment, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And it's like I'm not exactly asking for my audience's permission or trying to cater to like COD viewers. I'm just doing what I want to do, and if people are interested in that subject, then they'll watch it. If not, that's fine. Like I don't mind. So I'm approaching it in a way where it's like I want to make the best possible content around the thing that calls my interest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even looking at your channel now and like the Elden Ring stuff. I do think the Elden Ring somehow ties to COD a little bit because a lot of people that
I think zombies and Elden Ring have a
Yeah.
lot more crossovers than people think.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. It doesn't interest me at all, but I do feel like a lot of Call of Duty guys are playing Elden Ring right now, and maybe they connect somehow.
It's got a lot of similarities to zombies. I don't know if you've played much or any Elden Ring, John.
I've only played an
but-
hour.
I've been begging. I've
was
been
like, damn,
begging to
this is
get
hard.
our boy Ben, codename Pizza, to play it because I think he would love it. I
Yeah,
really
he's got a very like addictive personality. Like he can
Yeah.
get addicted to a game, and something like that where it's like it's difficult
Mhm.
by design, but like he enjoys like difficult and frustrating, and
Yeah.
like that guy plays like Metroid Prime, like the original Metroid, like 20 times a year.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, dude, you need. Please play this game. I've begged him to play it. It doesn't seem to have worked. But yeah. I mean, that's the thing for me recently is like I'm very interested in this thing, and I'm making content around it that I find personally satisfying, and I feel like in a way that's all you need, and then the audience that is also interested in that will come around.
Yeah.
So that's my approach. That's how it seems to go for me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask again. I mean, another question. Kind of tying into what we're talking about. If Call of Duty, they come out and say, "Hey guys, Black Ops 6 is canceled. We're done. The franchise is folding. It's over." What do you think you would go to? Would you go to a game? Would you go to movies? Would you go to working at GameStop? Like what? What do you? What do you?
McDonald's?
Kind of a random
go
question, but
No, it's a good question. It's like in some universe that might actually happen. Might not be in this one, but in some universe it could. I think I would probably, I don't know, because I feel like whilst I'm very much a zombies channel and very zombie centric, I feel like I've covered COD enough, especially in like the sort of down years of zombies, where I can almost like a chameleon sort of like switch it up and post Call of Duty Warzone stuff or multiplayer. Again, it's more if it's like news based, it will do fairly well for me. And I feel like as a like people come to me for news on COD in general, but like when it's zombies, everyone's coming to the channel.
Yeah.
But when it's other stuff, like less so. But yeah, I feel like I've been pretty lucky in being able to do that. Where I just cover COD entirely. But yeah, if Black Ops 6 was cancelled, I probably would go back to some of the older CODs. I feel like again with zombies, since it's been around for so long, we're quite fortunate that there's like a decade plus
Such a
worth
backlog of
yeah
content.
and,
Yeah.
and also it feels like people not necessarily will never get bored of it, but there's waves where people are like, yeah, I don't watch that, but after a while they're like, yo, I do miss like, you know, loading up Origins or like Mob of the Dead or
Yeah.
something.
Every
And so
2
like
years or so, almost on the dot, there's this big wave of like nostalgia for zombies where like old content really, or content on old games rather, really seems to resonate with people. It's almost every 2 years like clockwork. Very interesting.
yeah, it's very weird how that works. But yeah, I think I would probably go back to the old CODs. And then probably see what happens from there, because you know, if Call of Duty died, there would probably be another game that would take its place. But what that looks like and what that game is, no idea.
Yeah.
Might not even exist yet, but it could at some point in the future.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that like adaptability, like what you described about the chameleon. That's kind of how like I feel too, where it's like a friend of mine. It's so funny. Like I don't know why people ask this all the time, but one of my best friends that I started YouTube with, his like family was asking. They're like, "So what is Sam gonna do when YouTube fails?" And they're always just like saying stuff like that. And Austin was like, he would just like adapt. He would just like figure it out. It's like yeah, like I don't have an answer as far as like what game I'm specifically gonna cover and all this stuff. It's like I just figure it out when the time comes. I feel like that's kind of what you're describing too.
Yeah.
You just figure it out.
I feel like that's something that also, because we've been on YouTube for quite a while, we sort of learned and sort of had to have done that at certain points already. It's kind of like, well, like we're not new to this. Been around the block for a little bit, so we'll adapt it and yeah, just go with the flow.
That really
seems to always work it out.
That was Warzone 2. I know I've already said that, but that was my first taste of, oh boy.
You got to have that moment, man.
Nobody likes it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's not doing well on YouTube. Uh-oh. Like now where we go. So yeah, it's definitely being ready for it is definitely the thing. And then like you said, I feel like since I've switched to this classic COD approach of kind of just, I don't know, just doing what I enjoy, I think people have kind of gravitated towards it because I'm not forced, like they know I'm having fun. And like you said, Chop, in a previous podcast, people are not stupid. They can tell, oh wow, Tdawg's actually having fun playing Blackout in 2024. He's not faking it to go, here's the new meta in Warzone, check this build out. It's like
yeah.
So that's
and you can
I'm
do
learning
that but you can make those videos if that's what you're really interested in, and you can make really good content about the meta and everything if that's what you want to do. I'm not like putting people down who make that content. I make that content sometimes when I feel like it.
Yeah, right,
I'm
right.
enjoying it. It's like that. But if you're phoning it in and that's not really what you actually want to spend your time doing, then I think it kind of comes through in the content. And then I think a lot of people can get trapped there. But if you're really having fun with what you're doing, there's this kind of like addictive charm to it that I think makes the content a lot more elevated.
Yeah, totally agree. I was trying to think of another question that I had. I'd love asking questions, especially because we actually behind the scenes this is the first time we've actually talked in person. So I'm just trying to get a background of everything, and then I can learn too. But I don't know why it took me 40 minutes to ask that question. That's just an absolute terrible host, but we'll get these over time.
We're being sidelined by Black Ops 6 book, so it's
Yeah, we should.
understandable.
We probably should talk about Black Ops 6 too, Chop. I mean,
Yeah,
if that's
I was gonna
the
say a question we could ask like John of what I mean, what his thought process is going into Black Ops 6. Like, what are your as we lead up into what is potentially one of the biggest Black Ops games? Like, how are you feeling?
So far, I'm feeling good. Like, it's weird. Like when the podcast goes out and like when we're recording it, it's been a month since the Black Ops 6 direct, and it
Yeah.
feels like it's been months since we've had something new for Black Ops 6.
yeah.
So I'm really excited for that next moment because the lead up to
Good,
it.
good play
was-
on words there.
Yeah. The lead up to it was incredible. The ARGs, everything. It was like
Mhm.
boom, boom, boom.
So fun.
And yeah, but it's like now it's like what's
It
the
was
next thing?
relentless, and then it went dead silent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
they went
what-
from 0 to 100 and then just went to 0. They
Yeah.
just put everything out there.
I almost kind of like that approach. I'm not gonna lie, because it has at least me and maybe some of the community waiting on bated breath of when's the next thing gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I kind of like that approach. So I think they've killed it as far as marketing goes this year, and everything about the game specifically. As far as like, I'd seen this sentiment echoed a little bit. It almost seems too good to be true, and I don't know if there's like an element of truth to that. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But I there's nothing that is off-putting or that scares me right now, and maybe that in and of itself should scare me. But I am very much looking forward to like the direction that specifically for zombies. It kind of feels like coming home in a way. Like I think very much like round-based. Proper zombies is back. It feels like coming home after such a long time of MWZ, Vanguard, all this stuff. And I think, from my personal perspective, I'm going to be very like genuinely interested in that stuff. So I hope that the content will reflect that too. And I think it'll give us a lot of raw material to make great content out of and really enjoy the game. So I think it's looking good as far as like every aspect is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Like campaign, I'm really excited for that.
Oh.
Like we were talking a little bit earlier, like the earlier Black Ops campaigns were so good. I don't really know what happened with Black Ops 3. I genuinely would love to know, like, was there a more Black Opsy S campaign planned? And then they were like, no, screw that. We're just going to tell this super weird story.
I can tell
But,
you
like,
more about that if you want. But
yeah, you can go into it in a second. But like, yeah, like Cold War's campaign, I thought was really good. And this campaign looks brilliant as well.
Yeah.
I'm heavily invested in every part of the game. And I can't say that for some more recent Call of Duty releases where I'm like,
Sure.
oh, like the zombies, like sure. But like the campaign, I'm not that fussed. Or like the multiplayer, like, it looks okay. But like every part of this game looks good.
Yeah.
Which I'm very happy about. And I feel like it's also like Chop said, with the zombies like coming home, like the whole game itself feels like we've waited so long for Treyarch to fully realize a Black Ops game. It's like we deserve this game to be good, and we deserve to have a good Black Ops game. Because
Yeah.
we've been waiting 4 years.
Yeah, long time.
That is wild though, when you think about that. 4 years.
It's flown by, to be fair.
I just can't. It's crazy. I just can't. I don't know why. It's like 2020 we were playing Cold War, and it's almost 2025.
I remember picking up my PlayStation 5 from Best Buy, like when they were, when they were first coming out, like a long, long time ago. It was like pretty early 2020, and then like getting Cold War. Like I had like an early copy of Cold War on PS4, and then I got my PS5 like the next day, and then that's when like the game like fully came out. But I like remember that happening. That does feel like a lifetime ago. I echo your sentiment about the campaign, where I feel like I'm more invested in this campaign than I have been in maybe since like honestly maybe since like Black Ops 3. I don't know if I've been this curious about one since that. The Modern Warfare campaigns I think are fun, but I can take them or leave them for the most part. But Black Ops campaigns really seem to do it for me, and I think they learned a lot from Cold War's campaign. I expect it to be very similar to that, like structurally. But I think it will be the general outline of the Cold War campaign, but way more expanded, and a lot more fleshed out. But that, like, and if that's the case, that works for me great, because I think Cold War's campaign is fantastic. Weirdly enough, I made the argument in I think my Cold War review. I feel like Cold War's campaign is structurally more similar to Black Ops 3 than it is BO1. Like, it has a lot of BO1 like subject material and like the era and all that, but I think like structurally the game is more similar to BO3's campaign, which is very odd. And I wonder if they're going to try to like mirror another older game with this campaign in BO6.
That's really interesting you say that, because I feel like Cold War's campaign, like it echoed BO1. Like
Mhm.
it had the same groundworks. It's like, oh, you're playing as someone that's been brainwashed, and there's a load of stuff that you learn as the campaign goes on to like explain what happened, and that's pretty much like BO1
Mhm.
in a
I
sense.
I hear you. The comparisons I made to BO3 were more like, I mean, it is similar. The idea that like you kind of play as like this unnamed character, like, you know, you're sort of anonymous in a way. And then you have a bit of like this safe house in between missions where you can explore and you figure out what's going on, put the
Mhm.
pieces together. And then also like you get this big revelation at the end that recontextualizes like who you are in the game, which I guess is also kind of similar to BO1. Uh, and maybe they do share a lot of similarities there. But I felt like it was kind of like what BO3 wanted to do in a way. Um, I know that campaign is very controversial, and
Very.
yeah,
I've never finished it. I'm not gonna lie to you
I
guys.
saw you were playing it, Tdawg. I saw
I
you were you didn't finish it.
I made it 1 hour, man. I made it one
Oh,
hour.
really? You said, "Nah, this
I
ain't for
just
me."
I don't know. It just never I don't know. When I think Black Ops now, I just kind of think of those characters, like the iconic ones, and if they're not in
Yeah.
there, I'm just and I know
You're not engaged. Yeah,
something
you
I
just
know they're in it at some point, right? Like for a second or something.
There's so uh there's a mention of like Raul Menendez. They talk
yeah.
about Nova 6 a little bit. If you look in the like the Safe House Codex, they talk about like Frank Woods and Bowman even. So there's mentions of them there, but uh it I even think you finishing the campaign you would be like, okay, like what the hell was that? Like it'd be very
I
it'd be very
started it.
off.
I started and then I
Mhm.
asked the stream. I said, "How long is this campaign?" You know, because I'm thinking the last couple they're 4 or
Sure.
5 hours, and they're like 9 or 10. I'm like, "Ain't no way, bro! I ain't playing this game for 10 hours. I'll watch a walkthrough. I'll watch a summary."
John, I assume you like know about like the twist and everything of that campaign and like
Yeah, like I played it when it came out, and I'm like, dude, the ending. Like I can remember the ending. I think I've replayed it like maybe like a year ago or something for like footage
Mhm.
of the final mission, and I'm like, dude, what on earth is going on? Like you get swallowed into like a tree, and then you're like swimming up to plant like something in this tree, but you're in like different scenario. Like I
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know. If you ask me what was the BO3 campaign, I couldn't tell you what the story was because I don't get it.
Um I
9 years
I
on.
mean you're on with that. If y'all want, I don't know why I'm like weirdly obsessed with the BO3 campaign. But if you want, I'll give you like a little bit of a an interesting like thing into it. Um the thing with the BO3 campaign is it literally like does not make sense your first playthrough, right? Like
Mm.
you start out, you're this anonymous soldier, you get torn to pieces, you get this DNI. Taylor's like, "Hey, we saved you, but now you have this thing. You're like, you know, cybernetically enhanced." You go through and like eliminate the members of like Taylor's, you know, previous team or whatever. Um and then near the end, like the end of the game is, yeah, you're in like this very weird like ethereal sort of situation, and you're like kind of inside of a DNI, and then you come out, and like the last line of the game is, you know, you walk out of the thing, you're like purging the DNI, and the soldier comes up to you and is like, you know, because you spent the whole game hunting Taylor down, right? That was the whole thing, is you're chasing down Taylor. And then you walk out and the soldier's like, "What's your name?" And then the player, you're like, "Taylor." And then the game cuts to black. So it's and people are like, "Okay, what the hell happened?" but the thing that's so weird is that like it's interesting how they do it in a way, because there's a lot of like callbacks to hints that of what was really happening. You know, like every time you start a mission, and I'm sure you saw this,
Yeah.
Tdawg, as well, like the text is scrolling by really fast.
Yes.
So those, and you're able to catch maybe a couple words, but you're not really able to read it. If you pause it and like read them, every single mission, that fast scrolling text is actually like the real description of what happened in that mission. So one of the missions will be like, we were hunting down like Dylan Stone and some of these other people, and you're like, who the hell is Dylan Stone? So really the context of the game is that you being this anonymous player, that mission where you get torn up by the robots, like you played that, Tdawg, I assume, when you were playing it, right? That's
Yeah,
pretty
I
early in the game.
played for now, so it was like that one. I think the last mission I did was I was chasing some dude through the train station or something.
Okay, so that mission you played is chronologically the last mission. Like, so you like the player like that you play as in that mission, you actually die from those robots. You don't get saved.
Right.
Like that's chronologically the last mission.
Don't they say that? And then that's the thing in the back of their head?
Well,
little-
they said we saved you. Like they said,
Oh, okay.
you barely made it. But you actually die in that mission. But you spend like the whole game after that point playing as Taylor. You're actually Taylor. And so the Taylor you see in the game that you're hunting down is actually a different guy named Dylan Stone. And you'll realize that if you read the pre-mission descriptions. The whole game you're playing as Taylor, which makes sense because the rest of the squad that you're hunting down is also not who they say they are. Like I think Fierro, or I'm sorry, Ramirez is actually a guy named Fierro. The lady, I'm trying to remember her name, but she's somebody different too.
I can
Basically,
visualize her.
yeah. They're all somebody different.
Is that the
and
girl
they're
that's
actually
in The Mandalorian?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she's
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it is actually. But they're only mentioned in the pre-mission descriptions and in a comic book. But the context is that like the whole time you're Taylor and you're hunting down your other like officer, and his name is Dylan Stone. There's no mention. They don't ever utter the words Dylan Stone in game, but he's mentioned in the pre-mission descriptions. And you'll know this. The other thing I think is really cool is John, you remember the mission where you save Kane, like the lady from the burning building? Like you go into the burning building to save the lady, and you like, you shove that other villain's like head on the like furnace.
Yeah.
So, and then like when you come out with Kane, like the player gets like really snappy with the other guy. And he does that because like Taylor and Kane were together. Dude, I feel like the guy like putting the boards on the thing. Tdawg, do you remember in the first mission where Taylor is talking to Hendrix and he's talking about like his relationship with Kane, and he's like, that didn't work out?
Yes, I do actually remember that because it was 3 days ago. I wouldn't have if I didn't, though.
So that happened because later in the game, the actual DNI reconstructive surgery, like Kane didn't want him to do it. And again, you're playing as Taylor. So he went and got the surgery, and then they split up. And the armband that Taylor's wearing is her headband that she left there. That's how you know that you're actually Taylor. There's a lot of really cool callbacks. Like I made a whole video about it. It's really cool.
Yeah. I might need to watch that video.
You should. I'll link you it later. That's probably, I'm not describing it very well right now, but I would watch that one if you want to know what's going on. But I appreciate them for, the point is of all that, I appreciate them doing something really wildly different that clearly didn't work for a lot of people, but is weirdly like something that very much interested me. I don't think it's very good, but it's very different. It's the most different campaign they've ever done.
Well, it could have been if it wasn't Call of Duty, one of those situations. Because I feel like I feel like I just kind of know the Call of Duty player. Maybe I'm the generic one. I just don't think Black Ops 1 was like as crazy as I needed it to get,
And it still made sense.
Yeah.
And the big thing for me, the reason I don't like the BO3 campaign for this reason is that like all of the clues you need to put the pieces together aren't really in the game. Like they are, but you have to like, you got to pause those pre-mission logs and read all of them. You got to go through the codex to find out who Dylan Stone is. It's like you don't really have all the pieces to snap it together just by playing the game. In BO1 you do. And I imagine Black Ops 6 will probably follow a similar path. I hope they do the storytelling in a way where it's like, yeah, there will be a big twist, but I hope they still give you all the pieces to allow that to snap together in the game without having to like sift through a codex, and find an obscure character in a comic book. It's weird.
The comic book thing is wild.
The comic book thing is insane. I will give you that.
Yeah, like I hope they don't do that in the future. Like it's cool to give like added context to like characters or like a story, a mini story. But like if you have to get that comic to get the context that you need to understand the campaign that you've paid for, it's like
it's a little too far.
Right, yeah, like 99% of COD players aren't playing the campaign for that experience. They want a simple cinematic A to B story where it all makes sense. It ties up nicely. It has characters that they love. And I feel like that's sort of what Black Ops 6 needs. But I do agree with you, Chop. If they had like an additional sort of like extra layer of depth where it's like, if you go and dig around and try and find out little pieces here and there, you might get a bit more context of the story that you might not have gotten from just playing it alone.
Yeah, like if the BO3 story was satisfying on its own, then you had this additional twist that you literally won't know unless you look under the hood. That's cool. Like that would be great. If there was like a story that, the majority of COD players were satisfied with, and it also had this insane twist that like completely recontextualizes the whole thing. That would be like, in my opinion, the perfect COD campaign because it would satisfy like both groups. That would easily be my favorite if they could pull that off. It wouldn't be very easy, but it would be amazing.
Yeah, little Easter egg action in the campaign, but like you said, tie it up nicely for me because I'm a bit of an idiot sometimes, and I just want the simplicity.
No, but that's the thing. I don't even think it's an idiot. Like if you don't understand the campaign, I made this point very explicit in my video. I'm like, you're not an idiot for not understanding this campaign because they don't give you all of the pieces to put it together.
Yeah,
they really don't.
Yeah.
So then you feel dumb, but you're not because they're withholding information that you just don't have. Like.
Shout out Black Ops 3, man. At least the other parts of the game were really, really good. I mean, that's the
Amen,
that's the good news.
Thank God.
I'm trying to think. What's another? I wanted to ask another question related to COD, but I can't. Chop, do you have anything?
I wanted to ask, John, as far as the, I'm curious your perspective. As far as like Modern Warfare 3's handling of live service. Do you think that it would be more reasonable, given that Black Ops 6 is doing a lot of classic things? Do you feel strongly anyway about free seasonal content versus premium DLC?
Oh man,
I know it's a bit of a loaded question, but I'm very curious. Like,
I feel like this conversation has been like on Twitter in the last 6 months, maybe 9 months. There was an argument on like, is the DLC that we're getting now because it's free like of a lower quality than when we used to pay for it? And I think like if you look at it from a business perspective, I don't think it matters regardless. The content's going to be made, right? It's like a business contractual thing. The studio has to make a set content for 5-6 seasons, just like they had to make content for DLC 1 to 4. I guess maybe it's because as the games have gone on, the perception of maybe like the more recent CODs where like the DLC hasn't really reflected as higher quality as like the prior COD games. But I don't think that the argument of like, oh, because it's free, it's worse. It's like I don't think that makes any sense because
it's
like
a very low resolution argument. I agree. It doesn't cover the whole story.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm glad we don't pay for DLC anymore because if you look at like Black Ops 4 was like the last game where you had to pay, but it was like the worst setup on the planet because you needed to
Black
buy
Ops Pass, baby.
Black Ops Pass to get it. You had to put this upfront payment for content you don't even know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
you don't even
wild.
know if it's worth the price that you paid. So yeah, I don't agree that really makes a difference. But I feel like what was discussed earlier in the podcast is like Treyarch have competition with Sledgehammer when it comes to the live service for Black Ops 6. Like Sledgehammer have set a precedent that you know, Treyarch, I don't think they'll struggle, but they definitely need to put their foot on the gas and keep it there for the whole year to try and match the amount of content that we've gotten in each season. Because it's like, season 4 gets announced and it's like, here's the roadmap, here's all the items on it. And then people are very quick to compare it to like MW2's roadmap or like
Yeah.
Vanguard and Black Ops. And it's like, but when you look at Treyarch's last game, Black Ops Cold War, despite the fact that they had to make that in like a year and a bit, they killed it with that game and the live support. Like they had more stuff in those seasons than like MW2 did in certain seasons.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not worried that Treyarch aren't going to deliver, but it's like Sledgehammer have definitely set a precedent that you would think most of the player base will expect going into Black Ops 6
There's a new
and the following year.
expectation, right?
Yeah, there's a new expectation of content. And I feel like, yeah, like Sledgehammer, like I think they've gone above and beyond what they've needed to do with MW3.
For sure, which is great.
Like, they didn't need to go for the effort to do the, the get higher and the 8-bit mode.
Right.
Like there's probably more stuff they're gonna do in season 5 and season 6 that we're not aware of. That's gonna be very weird and experimental, but like I think it's gonna go down really well. It's just so funny when they announce like season 4 Reloaded and they're like, yeah, we got this Minecraft 8-bit thing. Everyone's like, what on earth are you doing? Like, what is this? This is not Modern Warfare. Like, where's my military shooter like skins and realism and stuff? But then you play it and you're like,
yeah.
yeah, where's my realism? And then like you play it and it's like, oh wait, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
Wait, video games can be fun.
Yeah, like, oh my god, they can actually have a bit of fun with it. Crazy, dude.
I hate that argument now. Like that realistic. I think there needs to be a balance, but like,
Yeah.
dude, you don't gotta play the 8-bit mode. It doesn't carry over to the regular multiplayer. You can easily just go play search and do your thing with your guns and all that. But when I was playing the 8-bit mode, I posted on like short form, and you would have seen, the comments that you get. Wow, this is Call of Duty now. Wow, this game's really dead. Like, this is so stupid. Why did they copy I'm like, bro, we're just trying to have fun. That's all this is. We're just trying to have fun. So
I have a
same thing
hard
with Get
time on this
Higher. I like
because-
that.
I have a hard time with this because like one half of me is like, yeah, I just want them to do fun, crazy things. But then at the same time, I also, very much preach the identity of the game and keeping that intact. And like, I think that's very important too. That's why a lot of the classics are, I think, still people's fan favorites because they have such a strong identity that resonates with people. Again, even like Call of Duty Ghosts, I think has a strong identity, even if I don't like the game.
Yeah.
Like I can admit Ghosts has a very strong identity, even though that game is just not for me. But for a lot of people, that is the game they like. And I think with Modern Warfare 3, they have done a lot of admittedly very fun things to the game. But I think each and every single one chips away a little bit at its identity. I think it's just a trade-off relationship. Like I almost don't know if you can have it both ways. Not saying you can't have a fun game that also has an identity, but when you get weird and wacky, you do chip away a little bit of like, okay, well, what is this experience supposed to be like fundamentally? So I don't know. I have a hard time like kind of reconciling with that of like how crazy they should get with games. And with BO6, like, we talked about Treyarch. Like, I know they're going to try to maintain the vision of the game, but I know they want to do fun, wacky things with it as well. And like, I don't have a problem with that. That would be wrong of me to not want them to do fun things with it, but it's tough. It's a tough line to toe.
I'm telling you, John, you have to tell me if you agree with this. I think we said it before. I think it's Warzone. It's time to separate Warzone and make it its own thing. Like,
Yeah.
that's another game. Warzone's over there. I mean, I even talked to the people that play Warzone. They don't play multiplayer. They don't play the campaign. They don't give a crap about any of that stuff. They haven't played Call of Duty since MW2 era. Old school MW2 era. I'm like, these people are not, I guess is a bad wording, but they're not Call of Duty fans. They're Warzone fans.
They're Battle Royale fans, yeah.
They're Battle Royale fans. So it's like, I think if they didn't have the pressure to make the skins funky and all this stuff, like if there was a separate development team give Raven Warzone, let them just do their thing with Warzone and the skins and all that stuff. And then like the game itself is everything's separate. You can throw all the guns in from all the games over there on Warzone, but in Black Ops, don't you dare bring in, the MCW into Black Ops multiplayer. Like fresh set of guns, fresh set of maps. I like to. We talked about this too in another podcast. Like I like to learn the new maps. I like to learn the new guns and recoil patterns and all that stuff and the perks. And this past year, we really didn't have to do that because it was all the same. You know, oh, we're still doing lightweight. We're still doing this. Like it's the same everything. The guns even felt the same. So I just think Warzone needs to become its own thing at this point. I really do. It's just I don't know. I feel like it's clogging up the rest of everything else.
John, what are your thoughts on the new Call of Duty proprietary engine? You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, Black Ops 6 is going to be on the Modern Warfare engine," and you know, there's that whole debate. I don't know if you feel strongly about that. My only thoughts are like, I love the, you know, plasticky kind of cartoonish look that Treyarch games have always had. You know, roughly speaking, and the game still does kind of have that, honestly. But it does feel like I'm gonna call it the Modern Warfare engine. I know, even though they don't necessarily call it that. It does feel now that it is like on the Modern Warfare engine. Do you have any thoughts or opinions about that, or do you wish Treyarch still was just on its own thing?
I'm sort of in two minds because it's like if it's on the Modern Warfare engine, like visually, it will look better than how it looks. But I do agree with you. I like the art style of Treyarch Black Ops games. I like that sort of more cartoony, and even like the way it plays, like it's more old school, it's more arcadey. That's what we've grown up playing COD to feel like. So I appreciate and enjoy it when it feels like that instead. But I guess if it helps them from like a dev point of view, with the unified engine, then go for it. But it kind of it goes back again to Warzone, where if Warzone didn't exist and wasn't connected, would we have to move to this unified engine where everything's all on the same? Because the reason why they've done it is so it makes Warzone integration smoother and easier. Because like Black Ops Cold War and Warzone was quite frankly a bit of a mess because they were two different engines, and every single gun and model and everything had to be like ported over. But when they have to port it over, that also means the weapons feel different and everything's got to have its own different values to sort of match Black Ops. But they won't have that problem this time around. But yeah, like
so everything is kind of done in service of the Warzone integration.
Yeah, like it definitely is. Like there's no arguments about that. But again, if it comes down to like it will make the game visually look better, because I think arguably Modern Warfare games do look the best in this new like era of COD.
Sure.
And I feel like Cold War, I didn't dislike the engine, but obviously it did feel it felt very weird jumping between Cold War and then Warzone with how different those engines were and how like visually better Modern Warfare looked at the time. So like if they can have parity but still have that identity where it looks like a Black Ops game, then like we're golden. And from what we've seen so far, Black Ops 6 looks like Cold War, but it looks a lot better, which is all I'm like that's all I can really ask for. If it still retains that arcadey Cold War-esque gameplay but on that engine, then it's like, in my opinion, it's best of both worlds. There's not really anything to complain about.
Yeah.
I
like that. Cold War felt weird to me, especially after coming out. MW19, man. I just loved that movement. I really did. The if you go back and play that game, there's a lot to not like about that game, but movement, mechanics, and like gunplay noise, and you know the way the guns reloaded and stuff like that. I feel like you cannot. What do you call that? Say it was bad, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. Like so like I was very lucky to be invited to Infinity Ward to see the game before it got revealed. And like we got to see the trailer and then we got to see a few missions, and like they showed some demos of it was the Piccadilly campaign mission, but like there was no AI. It was just completely empty level. And they showed where being in different parts of the map, the gun sounds were different.
Yeah.
And then talking about like how it like echoes across and everything, and the animations. And it was like after that the Activision PR was like, what do you think? And I'm like, no joke, like this genuinely feels like the next evolution of COD. I was like, it doesn't look like COD, which is fantastic. It's like a brand new like identity and refresh. And even still to this day, I'd say that game is the best looking COD, the best like realistic COD that we've had. Like it
Mhm.
looks better than MW2 and MW3.
It looks way better than MW3. If you go back and play MW19, I did that the other day for a video. I was like, holy crap, this game's 5 years old.
It
I
looks
haven't
like it
played
came
it
out
in a
like
while.
last
Like,
year.
does it? I need to do a bit of a comparison. Is it visually that much better?
It-
And also, why?
I don't know. It feels better. Like even just like the gun shooting and hit markers and like the noises, it's just wild. Like again, MW3 is one of these games where we're trying to get it back. It feels like we're trying to get it back to MW19, but it's just
Yeah.
not hitting like MW19. It's
Sure,
I don't know. I think
that's interesting.
John,
I
like
don't-
you
I don't-
said, I totally agree with John said. Like I felt like MW19 could have been like the future engine-ish kind of thing. They're probably the same
yeah.
engine if you look at like the stats or whatever, but like that should have been what we kind of based around. And then I feel like now they're just Cold War felt different, Vanguard felt different, MW2 felt different, and it's not in a good way feeling different like the old CODs used to do, where you knew which one was which. So yeah, it's just I don't know. I feel like the Warzone thing. I just know made everything change. It had to. It had to have. It's just too popular.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that eventually it has to come to a head. Like either they have to break Warzone off, or it will like consume the premium Call of Duty experience like wholly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Black Ops 6 is not going to be the game where we get that separation truly yet, but I don't know. Maybe the next game we'll see. But I feel like it has to come to a breaking point somewhere, because I just don't think it's possible to like sustain that. But I suppose only time will tell.
Yeah. Chop, do you have anything else? I mean, we're at an hour and a half. I don't want to take you too long. Be here for 5 hours.
I thought
keep talking.
I wanted to cover like what John thought about Black Ops 6 going into it. I wanted to bring up this book a little bit too, which I thought was funny. But that's pretty much all I wanted to really get into. I mean, it's been a while since we've done a podcast, so we had a lot that we wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
But if there's anything else you wanted to bring up, I'm open to that too.
John, you call it. If you got a topic you want to talk about, I'm totally down.
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
Which it accidentally became like a big talking point in the zombies community in like the last week, and I had no idea the ramifications. So I made a video which was like my Black Ops 6 zombies wish list, which was like a bunch of things that I hope Treyarch will like listen to his feedback and change on. Most of it was more like it was rather than like complete overhauls of systems, because it's very obvious that the game's based off Cold War. They're not really gonna like that was the overhaul to Zombies Cold War. They're not gonna overhaul it again. But I was like more like, let's refine some of those systems. Let's make them better and sort of cater more to newer players as well as OG players, where it finds a middle ground that everyone likes. So I made a point about the loadout system, because you could argue when they introduced that into Cold War Zombies, it made the mystery box pointless, because you'd never hit the box because you spawn in with the gun you want. So why would you hit the box to get it? Made wall guns pointless, because again, you're not going to buy it off the wall. You spawned in with it.
Right.
So I said it got taken out of context. I said I want to spawn in with a starting pistol in Black Ops 6 Zombies, and everyone's like, "Well, there's loadouts, John, so you can literally spawn in with one if you want to." And I'm like, "But you know what I'm saying? That's not the point. You know what I'm trying to say." So my middle ground was, and I know they won't do it because they won't revert back from loadouts, but I'm like, let's get the OG system where you spawn in with that pistol. But then in the spawn room of each map, there is a loadout locker. So if you want to use it, you can go ahead and use it. But if you don't want to use it, just keep the pistol and do what we love, building up points. And the argument that I made was like, you had a power curve where you started off being incredibly weak, and you progressed through the map, opening it up, but then also buying guns that were also not that much better than the pistol, but slightly better, that helped you get more points to then advance to the next thing, and then to the next thing, and then get to the box. And it's like the loadout system kills all that progression. So it's like, what's the alternative that Treyarch can do that still adds a power curve, but isn't the starting pistol? Because they they overhauled the point system as well. So how that works, there's no point shooting a zombie 8 times in the leg and then kniving. Like that's
Which
completely gone out the
reduces some
window.
of the like, moment to moment strategy that zombies has too. We talked a lot about that, and I think that's a reasonable compromise. Because again, I also don't think they'll just completely go back on loadouts. I
Mm.
think it's tricky because also I think it plays into how like the rarity system works as well, like
Yeah, that's so
fundamentally.
true. Yeah, yeah.
And I think the rarity system is literally like just that feels like I am hesitant to say that like Warzone has much of an influence in zombies, but I feel like that is a pretty clear cut example where like the rarity system certainly takes place and had an effect from Warzone. But anyways, I think my problem is less so with like the starting pistol debate and more of if weapon rarities are even a good idea because they they take away the impact of what a gun is. Like when you load up Nocturne Toten, the Car 98 is not a good weapon. Point blank. It's a bad gun. You can use it in the early rounds, sure, but it's not like, oh, I'm gonna have a legendary rarity Car 98 and now it's good. Or like I have a like what is traditionally a good gun, like the RPK. Oh, but I have it green rarity, so it sucks. And it takes away like what guns, like the weight and effect of them. So I think I think really the heart of the loadout debate for zombies lies at if weapon rarity should be in the game. And I'm not totally sure on that because partly I like the way that the weapon rarity like kind of lengthens the progression of the game. Like you work your way up to rarity and up to legendary. I think that's cool. It definitely lengthens that whole process, but at the same time, it makes the power curve of guns kind of meaningless. And I don't really know how to solve that problem. I've thought about that a lot, and I don't really have a good conclusion to that. I've not thought of any like aha moment that's like, this fixes it. I'm not sure. And the last thing I'll say is like I also think it affects the not the ability to pack a punch weapons, but what they mean when they are pack a punched.
Yeah.
Like the in BO1, the pack a punch M16, you get this grenade launcher. It's a pretty good gun, not the best gun in the game, but it's solid. There are other guns you can go after in the mystery box. I agree. This loadout system and rarity makes the box pointless. Besides getting wonder weapons, which now oftentimes have quests to get them, so the mystery box is largely null. Um, so I don't really know where to fall down on that. I think for a general audience, the weapon rarity system works better, but I think for veterans that are going to play the game lots, they're going to try out every gun. You're eventually going to get this hierarchy of what guns are good and what guns are bad. Like in BO3, John, like it probably took the community a couple of months to really settle on what guns are good and what aren't. And some
Yeah.
guns were good for different things. Like the XM53 is like one of the worst guns in zombies. It's not very useful, but it's hella good in the DE boss fight if you know that, you know.
Mm.
And we don't really have that anymore with weapon rarities. So I don't know. It's tricky. I don't really have a good like conclusive answer to that.
Yeah, like I'm glad I'm not Treyarch because I'm in the same boat as you. I'm like, how do you solve this problem? Because it's like you could argue that the rarity system is good, but then it's for newer players, they might not even know it exists. They're like, I
Mhm.
know the concept of the pack-a-punch machine. I know if I use that, I'm going to upgrade my gun. It's going to be better. But then they don't know that there's a separate rarity system that they can do to incrementally increase their gun. And like there's leaks that like that system's going to be slightly different in how you interact and you upgrade your weapon's
Sure.
rarity. Like, and I'm glad if that does reign true. I'm glad because that's a more obvious thing. It's like a thing that's dedicated to doing it
Mhm.
rather than how it is in Cold War, where you go up to a machine that can upgrade your armor and your weapon's rarity. You're choosing which one. It's kind of like, how is this weird robot in this machine able to do this? How does that make any
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like I think like as we've seen with the reveal and like a recent interview Kevin Drew did for Black Ops 6 Zombies, like the key is that they want to make it accessible, which I have no problems with. I think that's good because it's just like means more people can play zombies. It means it'll be more popular, and that's only a positive benefit for the zombies community. But like when you're so used to how zombies has been, it's like it's kind of like, did this need changing? You know, if it wasn't broke, did you need to fix it, sort of thing?
Yeah, I hear you. I think the rarity system was very obtuse in Cold War, and if they can make it more clear and I think more fun to engage with, it can be an extension of the pack-a-punch system in a way. That's fine. But yeah, it is tricky. And again, I'm glad I'm not Treyarch either, because I don't want to have to be put up with solving that problem. But we'll see what they do. I think it will probably be split down the middle. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. I just think that's inevitable. But I'm curious their approach, and I suppose we'll see.
I'll just put my 2 cents in, and Chopper knows this. I love the easy zombies, man. I like just picking it up. Don't really gotta think. Shoot some zombies, maybe do a little Easter eggs. But other than that, I'm cool with the chill experience. But they're doing that though, Chop. You said they're doing the chill one, and then they're doing the one where it's like have fun.
It seems like their approach is, you know, we've talked to them a little bit about this. Like, it seems like their approach is they want to make a very accessible experience. I would argue that was Cold War. Like, I felt like that was the game that was very accessible, and I felt that they had room to maybe crank the difficulty up in this next game since people are already kind of on board. But it feels like they want to. I think
Keep
it has
it
a lot
that way.
to do with the Microsoft acquisition too. Like, they're projecting that this is going to be a lot of people's first ever Call of Duty, which maybe is true.
Yeah.
So they also want to make this game quite accessible. Maybe this is just my own hypothetical, but I tend to believe that you could have a game that is both very accessible yet very difficult to master at the same time. Like, instead of having a capped skill ceiling where it's like, okay, this game's pretty easy, but there's nothing more for me to really get better at. I think there's room to have a low floor and a high ceiling. I think it's possible. I'm not saying it's easy. But that's what I personally would like to see. You know, like Tdawg, like hopefully you could just pick up the game and get right into it.
Yeah.
But somebody like me and John that really want to, you know, take it to its potential. Hopefully there's that extra layer of it there. I think that would do well to making it, like, I would say, you know, a legendary game that people would infinitely replay. I would say that's kind of like BO3. That's why that game works for a lot of reasons. Very easy to get into, but has a pretty high like skill ceiling. I think that game is why it's lasted as long as it has.
Yeah, I didn't even play Black Ops 4 Zombies, but Cold War got me back into. I played the first map, that was it. But I did
was
play
the
it.
opposite direction. Yeah, that
dude.
was like
Even
really high floor.
But wasn't there one at the end of Black Ops 3 that was just absolutely insane? And you're like, maybe that is Black Ops 4. You're like jumping from. You might be like in the ether or something. I don't know what's going on. You like jump from a platform to another one, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, Revelations is weird.
Is that 3 or 4?
That's BO3.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
BO3
when I cut off. I said, boys, I don't know what's going on right now. I thought we were starting in a little hole, like a little hidey hole, and we were fighting off zombies back in World at War. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
It's very different. Yeah, like again, this podcast has turned into whole like just about zombies and like thoughts on maps, but like I feel like BO3 was like straight bangers, but then that final map, yeah, it was going like this, and then yeah, at least in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, you asked Noah J.
Trip.
He wants Revelations back because like that, you know, I he's got a perspective where it's like that was the height of like solving Easter eggs, which maybe is true, but I think like John would probably agree with a bit more with me. I don't think it was for good reasons. Like,
no, it was because Treyarch made certain steps nearly impossible to solve, where it stumped us for days on end. And don't get me wrong, I think that's good. But when it's like, I prefer a zombies Easter egg where there's like logic to each step. But when it comes to stuff like that, there is no logic. If there was something on the map that gave you a hint that you needed to build a skeleton, it's like, okay, it doesn't even give you
like,
that.
Even just a little diagram. There's none of that. Yeah, like and where you collect bone parts is completely obtuse. This brings up a really interesting topic actually that now I thought about it, I really want to ask your thoughts. Like, what is your approach or ideal approach to how they do Easter eggs? Because, you know, you have, again, two sides of the coin. You have the Cold War pilled people that are like, you know, we love a good final right quest. We love a good, you know, the Cold War Easter eggs are very easy to repeat, I would say.
Mm. Yeah.
Pretty simple as far as that goes. And then you have like the BO4 pill people that are like, I want 86 spawn locations on Blood of the Dead for the bird. I want Dead of the Night, astrological symbol. You know what I mean? Like a little bit too far. Where do you fall as far as like how obtuse the Easter egg should be? Because we were talking to Treyarch a bit about this. Like my thought was, I like the idea of having like a proper quest in the map, or like a quest that's kind of like a little more on the rails, like kind of tells you what to do more or less. But then I also maybe like having the idea of a proper Easter egg that is very hidden, can be very obtuse, like BO4. And maybe you get something different out of each and every one. I don't know where you fall on that, of what basically the question is, should Easter eggs be harder or easier, or like on that gradient?
It's a good question, because in that video where I spoke about loadouts, I did mention about Easter eggs, and I said that they should be slightly more difficult, and I said they should be like BO3 level. But I'm coming from the perspective where like I've been doing the Easter eggs since their inception, right?
Mhm.
And I really liked how they did BO1, where some of them was like a little bit of a puzzle, but there was logic behind it. But it took a little while before that logic was fully cracked. But once you had the
Mhm.
logic, you can repeat it every time. It's very simple. But
Mhm.
then like BO4, like I detest most of that game because the Easter eggs are so difficult. Even for someone like me, like I don't like going back to BO4 and playing like Voyage of Despair and doing that Easter egg, because
It just
I
feels
just
like a
think,
chore.
yeah, some of the steps are monotonous, and Blood of the Dead, again, like I don't like doing that Easter egg because there's too many spawns for the bird, and like it's just too difficult. That went too
Those
far.
maps were made for the day one hunt, not for the replayability of them.
Yeah. And like you said, I prefer an Easter egg where like there is a little bit of logic in order to solve, but once you've solved it, it's very easily repeatable. When you
Agreed.
look at Cold War, there isn't really any logic or any puzzles really that need solving. So I think get that in there again. Maybe some Morse code. I don't know, something kind of simple, something that's like base layer, something that we've dealt with before, but is in like a fresh coat of paint.
Sure.
Something that requires a little bit of thinking, not something that's crazy difficult, but at the core, the Easter eggs, every step there needs to be some sort of hint within the map. Be obscure or as clear as you want, just some sort of medium where there is some logic behind it.
Mhm.
I feel like Black Ops 2 kind of got there in the end, but some of the earlier maps like Transit and Die Rise, they're examples of like horrific Easter egg quest design,
Sure.
because it's just complete random. There's no logic behind it, apart from the one thing I'll give it credit for is that there were quotes that sort of hinted to what you needed to do.
Yeah.
Like there's some very weird steps in Transit where you need to build the jet gun, you need to go under a pylon in the cornfields, aim up and like destroy the jet gun, use it till it
Yeah.
blows up. But you
Mhm.
get a quote that sort of tells you to do that. It's not quite clear, but it kind of goes along the lines, you need the jet gun, you need to do something with it.
I
Something
think
like
what's
that, I think is a
yeah.
great like
One
medium.
one thing I wanted to bring about BO2 is that um in modern zombie games, we have very cut and dry rules about how excuse me, about how Easter egg steps work.
Mm.
But even in like BO2, you ask somebody today how the lever step in the maze works on buried, they probably couldn't tell you exactly how it works.
I
People
couldn't
go,
tell you.
"Oh, it's the candy jars." I think that was like a whole myth that I just don't believe is true. But you know what I mean by that, right? It's like there's a lot of BO2, specifically BO2 for some reason. There's a lot of Easter egg steps that work, but we don't really know why they work.
Mm.
Um, and I don't think we have that kind of like obtuseness anymore. Or that it's kind of like enshrouded in like how the mechanics of work. In Cold War we can be like, this is how exactly how this step functions. Like you need to be here. This is how this goes after you do this thing. But BO2 is a lot more ambiguous, even though the steps are repeatable and kind of understood. Like I feel like we still don't really know how that game works down to the nitty gritty. And I don't know if I'm arguing for that to come back, but I think it will be more cut and dry like Cold War is, as far as like how things work.
Yeah, I feel like some of what you said with Black Ops 2, I would like to see return, but like the
Like
idea of a
what?
step, um, I guess like some parts of like say like Barry's Easter egg, like going back in time, like round infinity, that sort of thing. That's really cool. But then like, yeah, like you said, the switches. Like I went back and done that Easter egg like a year ago, and I was getting hella frustrated. Like I nearly ended the game because I couldn't work out the levers in the maze. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I guess like we've said, there's a very fine line between getting something like that where it's frustrating, but then there is logic behind it. I think ultimately there should always be logic behind each step to solve. There shouldn't be this like obscurity where even now, 11 years on, we don't understand how that step works. We just trial and error it until it works.
I agree. I think there needs to be some kind of like hard coded. It can be hidden, but here's how it works, and here's how to easily repeat it once you understand the logic behind it. I think that's how I would approach it, anyways. But that's a whole other rabbit hole. But I think what you're arguing is for, because I think people's main complaint fundamentally is that they didn't like Cold War Easter eggs, because I think the idea that they were too easy stemmed from a lot of the fact that the hunts were over in like a matter of hours.
Yeah.
I don't think a single Cold War map took over a day to solve. Maybe Forsaken, and maybe not actually. I don't know. I don't even know what the longest hunt was for that, but
I can't remember.
They were a matter of hours, but I'm also not arguing for a 2-week solve like Revelations. I think that's annoying and tedious in the complete opposite way. I think that somewhere between Revelations and Firebase Z is the sweet spot.
So a week.
Yeah. We'll see on that. Maybe even a couple days. A good couple days, I think, is excellent.
Yeah, a couple days, I'm more than happy with that.
I just don't want them to obtain that through very like just obstructive methods that you're not going to solve this because I said you're not, kind of thing. We'll see though. I think it will be more approachable. I imagine it will be very similar to Cold War structure if I'm thinking about it realistically, but who's to say at the end of the day? Drew's the only man who could.
I just love listening to that, man. That's just zombie pros just doing their thing, man. I have no idea what half the stuff you're talking about, but I'm like, yeah, that's passion right there, boys.
We love this shit, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's real good.
It is cool, like, to see that perspective from you, Tdawg, where it's like another world of COD that you don't know exists.
Yep.
It's just like, I have no idea what this is. I don't know what you're talking about. And that's kind of cool, because it's like, that could be the same for us zombie players. It could be like a whole world of like Warzone stuff, and I guess like basic like meta and ways that you play certain maps, like even like Rebirth, like climbing up to second floors of buildings through windows and mantling and stuff. That's stuff that I'm still learning as I watch clips from time to time. And it's like, for other Warzone players, it's like they don't even think about it. They just do it. Yeah, they're just doing it.
I feel like
we've talked about that.
Tdawg talks about Warzone. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I'm not sure what's going on totally, but I'm learning so much, and it's fascinating. I think that's what works about this podcast, is that we bring very different perspectives to the table. And I love listening to elements of Call of Duty that I am just not as familiar with as I could be. It's again a totally different world.
Yep. It's funny too. We base our CODs we talked about earlier, but like we talk about our favorite CODs in the context of that game's zombies, or that game's multiplayer, that game's Warzone, Yeah, like I love the Cold War era Warzone. It was so good. It was so
I
good.
loved it as well.
Oh my gosh. Like I look back at that and I'm like, man, I missed that. The guns were so good. The events that they did were good. They brought in Rebirth Island. So it just was so many things that I could talk about forever. And then, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, I think that's what viewers at home would hopefully get out of this too, is that there are people that maybe fall into that are very familiar with Warzone, but not as much with zombies, or vice versa, and you get a lot of differing perspectives on a lot of different things, and I think bringing on guests has been a lot of fun. I think that's been our primary goal, is to get more guests on, because they have their own thing that they're interested in, and we get a lot of unique insight from their point of view as well. And I think that's what enriches this podcast a lot. And I think that's great.
Well, boys, listen, we didn't have a podcast for 2 weeks. We come back with a 2-hour banger, and we just slap him right in the forehead with it.
Gotta do it to him, man. Gotta do it to him. And it had to be with the homie MrDalekJD. You know,
Oh,
it was a great
well,
time.
again, it was a pleasure. I'm sad it's over because I'm like, man, I want to be on another one.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll have to have you.
Oh,
Hey,
we-
man, we'll have to have you on again soon.
Whenever
Yeah.
you want. Well, I think as soon as Black Ops 6 we comes out or the beta comes out, we can maybe do like a first impressions with everybody. You know, bring the same people back on and what do we think
Yeah.
type of vibe. It's kind of what we had thought about
Yeah,
previously.
if
So
you guys would like to see John back on again the podcast, let us know because we can definitely make that happen.
I'd love
We
to be
really do
back.
appreciate you coming on. It was an absolute pleasure, man.
Like I said, I genuinely love watching your guys' podcast. So it's like to be on it is like I'm happy, man, because it's like again, you're getting those perspectives of COD from different parts of the COD world that you wouldn't really think about. And it's not often that I sit here and talk about COD for 2 hours as well.
Yeah.
That's refreshing in itself. Like normally
Yeah,
I
for sure.
don't really talk about COD that much, to be honest.
and in a positive manner. Like I feel like just a lot lately is just negative Call of Duty
a lot
news.
of like zoomer talk like all the time. It's just not for me.
Anyway, yeah, that wraps up episode 16 with John. We'll have all your stuff in the descriptions. I know that's the basic Twitter. Anything you want plugged, go ahead. Feel free.
Just YouTube and TikTok, because that's what I'm trying to be very consistent on both. So if you like long form, you got it there on YouTube. If you like short form, you got it on TikTok.
Beautiful.
That's really all you need, honestly.
It's got the formula. Love it, man.
Yeah, so thank you all for listening. If you can, leave a 5-star on Spotify. 175 reviews on Spotify, Chop. We're up to that. Apple, listen, I keep saying it. You guys are lacking behind here, but hey, if you want to leave a 5-star on Apple, that would help us too. Subscribe, like the video, follow us on social media. It's the basic plugs at this point. But
it's just a good way to know when the podcast is coming out, because I understand we took a little bit of an extended break, but we're not gone. And so if you're wondering like where the hell's the podcast, that's probably the best way to get on it. So yeah, definitely go follow us over there. Make sure you all check out John too. And we have a lot of cool guests lined up, and we will certainly have him back on the podcast at some point as well. But it was a good session, good time coming back, and I think that was excellent.
John, thank you
very much.
Appreciate
Thank you again, boys.
John. We will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.